Sit!
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey. And
he's Garrett Price.
How's it going?
It's going good. You got to excuse us. It's pretty late here on the East Coast. This is the first show of the year. We talked for like an hour before the last show. And then the last show took about an hour and a half, which is like an hour and 40 for us. And so it's pretty late. So where the last show was an hour 20, hour and a half, this show is going to be shorter because we ain't got time for all that nonsense. So, but we do have time to give out the awards. This is the award show, so it should go a little smoother anyways. Let's just kick it off, right? No time for hubbadoo. I don't know what hubbadoo is.
Hubbadoo, which is a word.
Is it a word?
Hubbadon't, maybe.
Hubbadon't. Ooh, that sounds even gooder.
Hubbadon't got time for that. Come on, let's go, man.
Hubba, don't touch me there. Okay. All right, so let's get into our first award of the evening. And this first award is a Nico. It's a new award. It's called the Nico Collins Award. It took a while to get there, but this player is finally relevant.
It's getting late. It's getting late. Rich is switching up letters in his words.
I got less sleep than I normally get last night. It's been a long day.
Bad night to go late on the podcast.
And here we are. So this is a Nico Collins Award. Took a while to get there, but he's finally relevant. Does anybody like to open their envelope first?
I'm going to open mine first. I'm going to go Jerry Jeudy. I think some other people might have this guy as well. We'll see. It makes too much sense not to. Obviously, wide receiver 12 on the year, but this is his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th year, and it's the rare 5th year breakout. 1,200 yards, 4 touchdowns, 90 receptions this year. All career highs. I think the highest he's ever finished is wide receiver 22, and that was back in 22. So this is obviously the breakout that he was looking for. He had to get away from Denver and that thin mile high air, and now he's really succeeding.
Yeah, kudos to Jerry Jeudy. That's actually a really good one. My envelope has Terry McLaurin in it. Going from last year, wide receiver 31 to this year, he was wide receiver 7 overall for somebody who has always had the talent, right? We always everybody liked Terry McLaurin. He never put it together. He'd get 1,000 yards, but the quarterback talent kind of always held him back. He gets a Pro Bowl quarterback this year and immediately skyrockets to a wide receiver 1. And it looks like that has the momentum to continue into 2025. So my Nico Collins Award this year goes to Terry McLaurin.
Also a good one.
I mean, I love Terry McLaurin, and there may even be another award for him. He might be walking away with quite a few pieces of hardware.
Nice.
So we'll see.
I think I had him in another award too, and I moved him because I refused to give people double awards. Yeah, this isn't the Oscars.
All right. For me, the Nico Collins Award went to Jonnu Smith.
Nice.
Jonnu Smith took him a real long time. Maybe it should be named the Jonnu Smith Award because it took him forever to become relevant. But this year, finished the year as tight end 4 overall. And we had kind of a trio that all finished right about the same points per game in Kittle, McBride, and Bowers. And then Jonnu Smith was right after them with 13.1 points per game. But if you were to go the second half of the season, so week 11 on was when he really started coming on strong. He was the number 1 tight end from week 11 on, averaging 18.6 points per game. So he was just nuts the second half of the year, really carried some teams during that portion of the season. So my Nico Collins Award goes to Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, really kind of mimicked David Njoku last year. Same time frame, same status, was wide tight end 1 overall for that from week 11 on. Very, very similar to that David Njoku breakout we saw last year. Obviously, just significantly older. He could be Njoku's stepdad.
Yeah,
it's the rare year 8 breakout for Jonnu Smith.
Hey, it takes time
for real.
All right. Ready for our next award. And this award is I'm ready to get hurt again. A player that disappointed, but you're more than willing to still draft or trade for. Garrett, please tell us a name that you are willing to get hurt for.
Garrett might be the same. Yeah. Go ahead. I want you to say it.
Oh, it's going to be
I don't know if it is. It's not. It's not for me. Is it for you, Matt?
Go ahead. No.
It might be. Okay. But another guy that I like equally as much, it's Tyjae Spears. He's the I'm ready to get hurt again award for me. And I would not have picked him for this award if it wasn't for his last 3 games of the season. His last 3 games of the season, when he finally got the opportunity to more or less be the guy. I mean, he went berserk. 27.2 points, 21.6 points, 13.1. And a lot of that was done in the receiving game. And on a points per game basis from that point on, he was running back 4. I know it's a 3-week stretch, but running back 4 in that stretch. So I think he showed a little bit like, hey, guys, don't forget about me. I'm still here. Depending on who they take at quarterback, how that situation works out, like I could see him being much more involved next year, especially in the receiving game. So as much as this year was very painful as a Tyjae Spears truther, I think I'm ready to get hurt again.
I like that. That's and I'm all with you too. Like I'm very happy with all my Tyjae Spears, shares. Because like when given the opportunity,
he definitely
Tyjae produces. Like it's one of those mysteries. Like a player we like coming out of the draft, a player when he's given the carries looks good. And they get that silly Tony Pollard out there just like collecting all those paychecks.
Well, they just fired that GM too that brought in those older guys. Carthon's gone, so we'll see if Tyjae Spears gets a little bit more of an opportunity. Maybe they move on from some of those guys. I think Tony Pollard, from memory, I think Tony Pollard's money has kind of got him locked in there for next year. But
they got one more year with him, really.
Yeah. But we'll see. Mine is Javonte, by the way. I really did think that you'd be saying him, but only 24 years old, so he was pretty young coming out. I think he'll be 25 playing next, by the time next season rolls around. But finished as running back 30, and listen, you're never gonna. His numbers look ugly, like only 513 yards. But what I like is that I think he really established himself these last couple of years. 47 receptions in 23, 52 this year as a guy that can catch passes really well. But I do like what I've seen out of him towards the tail end of the season. He hasn't been getting a ton of carries, but especially these last 3 games, he got 4 for 24, and then he got 0 in week 17, and then 5 for 28. And just watching the games, it looks like he's getting a little bit of his explosion back, which really had been lacking to this point, post-surgery. So this is a guy that's going into his free agent year. We've already seen a guy like Jerry Jeudy kind of get out of Denver and off to greener pastures. And it's not like the offense there is bad, but Sean Payton is looking for a particular thing out of these players. And I think right now he's jamming some square pegs into his round holes, and it's just not working out great for the players involved. He's getting the most out of his offense from those guys, but it's not best for those players necessarily. So I think Javonte going somewhere else, he's one of the guys I'm eyeing as, if a team misses out on one of these running backs in the draft, wherever he might be one of these guys that they're like, let's go get this 24-year-old who started looking good towards the end of the season last year as like a consolation prize because we missed out on the guy we really wanted in the draft, and let's just see if we can get a couple of years out of him. So I do think Javonte Williams, I'm ready to get hurt one more time, just because he's a free agent, and I think there's some juice left there.
All right, so I'm gonna go with an actual like good player here.
Screw you,
and
Rich.
Listen, and I like Tyjae. I think Tyjae's good, so I don't want to say that. But like, this is gonna seem like it doesn't make sense when I say his name. But my name is Christian McCaffrey, and that is because I can see a lot of players saying like that because obviously he hurt this year, right? People traded for him. I traded for him. you went into him expected to be arguably running back 1 on the year after just coming, a couple of years removed from missing 2 years, right? And the fact that he hurt you so bad this year, he's going to be 29 years old next year, coming off that Achilles tendonitis as well. Like, there's a lot of people like in startup drafts, he's going to slip. Trade wise, like he's obtainable. Like, there's a lot of worry about Christian McCaffrey coming in and hurt you again next year. But for me, I still believe he disappointed me tremendously this year. And obviously, like, it wasn't his fault. It was down to injuries. But I still think with the way that Christian McCaffrey wins, he's still a valuable fantasy football running back. And I'm still in for the 2025 season. So I took a kind of different angle than you guys. Yeah. I really like the Tajay Spears pick a lot. But like, I was thinking about, it's like, man, who hurt me like the most this year? Like, the easy choice was like Dalton Kincaid, right?
That's what I thought you were going to pick.
Yeah, like that. And I was like, dude, everybody's just thinking I'm going to say Dalton Kincaid here, but like, he didn't do enough where like, I'm not going to go out there. Like, what are you trading for Dalton Kincaid, right? Like, I'd rather draft Tyler Warren really there. But like, I think value wise, Christian McCaffrey like, he hurt me a lot. I think he's a player that you went into this season expected a lot, and he hurt. So his absence hurt a lot. And there's a lot. It wasn't like there's no clear cut, like, coming back. Like, again, he had surgery too. Like, oh, it's minor. Like, he was in that knee brace. So like, there's a lot of concern there for Christian McCaffrey, but I'm still all in, and I'm willing to get hurt again on Christian McCaffrey.
I like it. I'm good with it.
All right. The next award here is the Kim Kardashian Award, the Comeback Award. If you watch Parks and Rec, the bloopers, you understand the reference. Yeah. So the Kim Kardashian Award is the Comeback of the Year award. Matt, who is your comeback player of the year?
I think this guy's fairly obvious, kind of almost a layup for this, and I would be surprised if one of you guys doesn't have it. I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins, just in the fact that
was not who I picked.
That's who I picked.
I figured one of you guys would pick him as well. It was an ACL, it was an Achilles.
It's a great pick.
There's been so much promise with this guy ever since he came out. He finished only as wide receiver 24 on the year, but that's the same as he finished in his rookie season when we were kind of excited and jacked about him. So it's nice to see that he is kind of back to where he was kind of pre everything coming out of college. And he did miss 4 games as well in the season. And that IR stint was kind of more precautionary than anything. It sounded like he could have come back after maybe just a couple game absence if they didn't put him on IR, kind of forcing him to miss all 4 games there. So it's I think this is a good sign for a guy like that. I think signing back there is probably ideal for a J.K. Dobbins. Just his usage and fit in that offense has been pretty nice. So we'll see where he goes, what happens in free agency. But for now, he's my comeback player.
Yeah, I made that prediction. Like I said, I think the Chargers are going to make the AFC Championship game. I do. I think they have a chance to come out of the AFC potentially. I mean, yeah, they got a rough path ahead of them. I know it sounds crazy to say when you got KC, you got Baltimore and Buffalo, but like, I think JK, that's why they rested him, right? And he looked really good in this past game as well. And you're right, Matt. He finished as running back 24. He did miss 4 games on a points per game basis. He averaged 14.8. He was running back 18 on the year. So
that's what we predicted. Yeah,
we sure did. In a bold prediction recap, we'll get back to that. So for somebody coming off an Achilles injury, and who's just been riddled with injuries, that was a huge comeback. Now, since we did have the same guy, that was my comeback award. I'm gonna tell you who my alternate was here.
Wait, let me go first in case you picked the guy that is my guy.
Is it a quarterback?
It is.
Okay.
Is it Sam Darnold?
It's not.
Oh, all right. I went with Sam Darnold from a guy that basically had no relevance in fantasy at all. To come back and be the number 9 overall quarterback on the season, totally resurrecting his career from like almost certain death. So I thought Sam Darnold is, even during the season, there were multiple times where it's like, oh, there's that game where old Sam Darnold's back. So there we go. And then next game, he'd come right back out and throw 4 touchdown passes. So he just had a phenomenal year from basically being on his deathbed.
Yeah, definitely definitely deserving of a nomination there. My alternate was actually one's going to kind of shock you guys. It was Bryce Young. Bryce Young was my alternate here that I really considered.
I'm fine with that.
Given here over the last 5 weeks of the season, Dave Canales did his work. Over the last 5 weeks of the season, Bryce Young was quarterback 6 on the year. And this is a team that got some draft. They got some money. They got another good draft pick here that could really help and build around Bryce Young. We talked about Dave Canales before about the wonders that he did at the quarterback position.
Smith,
it looks like he's doing it again with a guy like Bryce Young. For somebody that, look like you said, Sam Darnold, dead in the water, gets benched. We sat here and said he was dead in the water, and I kind of pushed back just a little bit at one point when he came back. And I was like, guys, Bryce Young's kind of a buy for me right now. And you guys are like, no. I'm like, I don't know. He really came on really strong to the point where I think he's really good value in startup drafts right now. And a good trade target for somebody that did nothing. He came on strong, and we're not talking just a couple weeks. The last 5 weeks, I mean, he was right ahead of Justin Herbert, right behind Lamar Jackson there. Baker Mayfield was quarterback 1 overall.
In a startup right now, where would you between what quarterbacks? Because I know it's hard to say exact round, but between what quarterbacks?
I'd have to look at my rankings, and because that is tough. I think for me, I feel more comfortable to say is I prefer the value of where he's going. So it's and I know it sounds crazy. It's okay, would you rather take Kyler Murray in the 4th or even maybe the 3rd? Would you rather wait till the 6th or 7th and just take Bryce Young? You know what I mean? Kyler didn't look that good this year. Bryce Young's looked pretty good right around there. And then you get some of those older guys out
that's
there.
The difference. I think that's the toughest part is the security.
I mean, you're still talking about the number 1 overall pick that just kind of turned it around. He looks like he's pretty locked in. So, I mean, you technically got a little bit of security there too. I mean, literally the way I look at it and the ways I use Kyler is his security to me is just as good as security of Bryce Young, where if Kyler puts up another dud year or so, I don't know how much more guaranteed money he's going to go before it runs out, where the rookie contract for Bryce Young is fully guaranteed. So I think their security is pretty equal actually. So right around that range, obviously I would take Kyler ahead of Bryce Young. My point is I would rather trade Kyler Murray for Bryce Young in a first, you know what I mean? Around those eyes, he showed me enough these last couple of weeks that he is potentially the future quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. I feel significantly more comfortable. So again, that was my alternate. It was J.K. Dobbins was my winner there. But I think Bryce Young deserved a nod. Obviously, Sam Darnold really good there too. So next award is going to go to Player of the what is it?
Player of the Year.
I got cut off. I think I messed it up. So Mr. Consistent is what it's the next one's supposed to be. Yeah, Mr. Consistent. So a guy that's not an elite player, but he's a good start each and every week.
All right.
Then I did this incorrectly.
Oh,
sorry. I had Josh Jacobs because he is super, but he's also running back
crazy 6. High end.
He was running back 6 on the year. But he was very consistent.
Dude, this was the hardest word I had to go through because I was looking for somebody he's Garrett's he's not high end, but he's consistent. I'm well, how can you be consistent on points per? I was just looking at average points on a year and stuff. I'm wow, they're all really good players.
Well, I mean, I would say David Montgomery then is probably Mr. Consistent for me. He's not super high end. He's running back 18 on the year, but he's going to get you double digits 1, 2, 3, 4 every single time except for one in games that he played. So until he got injured, he was
on my radar as well for this award.
So that's who I would pick, knowing now what Mr. Consistent is, because there was a Player of the Year and then Mr. Consistent, so I was kind of confused.
Yeah, I think it got cut off weird when I sent it over. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Good. Yeah, this was a tough one to decipher because you couldn't be high end, but some of you want to get your. I was really close to picking Jawan Jennings for this role, but he wasn't overly consistent.
It was the roller coaster, yeah.
So I kind of went with Devontae Smith here, where he came in, finished as wide receiver 24 on the year, so he's a low end wide receiver 2, but he was always in your lineup, and he gave you some pretty good games at the same time. almost double-digit. He had a game where he got hurt. We had 0.8, which kind of lowered it. And then after that, he came back. He had those couple of weeks before he got hurt where he had under 10. But besides that, he was giving you like double-digit teens, like every single week, like very consistent in Devontae Smith. One of those guys that you can plug and play in your lineup and feel really good about coming out and giving you something good. And sometimes high-end numbers, but pretty consistent. And like if he was your wide receiver 3, that's like a championship caliber player. If he's wide receiver 2, like he finishes wide receiver 2, but like you really hope Devontae Smith was your wide receiver 3 this year, coming off a wide receiver 1 year.
Right. Yeah. Mine's going to sound blasphemous at first to say like, this guy's not an elite player, but at quarterback 11, he wasn't elite. So my Mr. Consistent ended up being Patrick Mahomes. I know the name is elite, but I don't know if you can be quarterback 11 and be considered elite. But you look at his stat line, each and every week he got it done. He just didn't put up the crazy high numbers that we expect from him, but he literally did not have a game under 14 points all season. Now he had like 5 games at 14 or 14.1, but he was just very consistent all year. He was good. He didn't carry you like you expect Patrick Mahomes to do. And he was definitely better in the second half of the season than he was the first half. But still, he was just kind of more of a consistent, like borderline quarterback 1-2 type guy this year than he was that dominant quarterback 1 that we've come to expect from him.
Makes sense after the explanation. At first, I was a little iffy on that one.
The name makes it feel like that shouldn't be allowed. But
yeah, we'll figure this award out next year. Thanks, Academy. All right, the next award is the "I Told You So" award. The player that way outperformed your expectation. Not your expectations. The player that you had a strong opinion about and were totally right about. I'll go first. For all you this is a player that I was really big on. I preached him up on the podcast. I said I absolutely loved him. I said right before the breakout, like, you want to go trade for this guy now. Like, everything I'm seeing on tape is saying wide receiver 1. And boy, was I right, because he finished the year as a wide receiver 1, and he looks like a stud going forward. And that was Ladd McConkey. A lot of people were taking, obviously if you took Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of him, kudos to you. You were also correct. But for the most part, everybody was taking Xavier Worthy over Ladd McConkey. They're going different avenues here. This was a player some people they liked, but they didn't love. They said his frame was too slight, but he really showed me everything that I talked him up, and he was my wide receiver 4, and I had a pretty high overall that I loved coming out of Georgia, and I loved on the tape. He showed at the next level. Immediately got it, right after I think I did that video is when he started being wide receiver 1, and it was right around week 9 on. Him and Justin Herbert just hit the ground running, and they got a star in their hands. And all his numbers and all his metrics, it looks like he's not just like one of those guys, like a 1-year wonder fluke. It looks like we have another bona fide star on our hand. Like, Ladd McConkey has gone from being all right back in the first to easily worth 2 first-round picks right now. So Ladd McConkey is the award winner for me.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Bo Nix.
I knew it.
Quarterback 7 on the year. That's all. I don't even have a big argument. That's it, dude. That's all you get.
Same thing I said on draft day. Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
I still remember being at the Fantasy Football Expo, and the expo finally was all over, and we went to go get lunch before we left. And it was at Don Shula's, and on the TV, the Broncos were playing their last preseason game. And we're just sitting there going, man, Bo Nix looks like that, during the season. There's a good chance, he's going to look pretty good. And Matt's like, yeah, see? He's going to look pretty good.
See?
And,
he is going to be good. It kind of tongue-in-cheek, but yeah, it turned out.
Hall of Fame quarterback class, it looks like so far. This is,
listen,
Dynasty class too, as well. This is an all-time class. If there's ever a class you ever want to have a shitload of picks on, this was the class.
I wanted to keep it short, but now you started talking, so I'm going to keep going on Bo Nix. I've said it several times. This dude, he came out of the gate a little bit rough. Rookie. He was a rookie. I mean, in a Sean Payton offense, he has gotten better and better and better and better. And now he's pushing his team into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. That's impressive for a rookie. And to throw for almost 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, but he had, what really surprised me was the stuff on the ground, 430 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Just huge extra added fantasy value that I didn't necessarily see coming. I thought he could move a little bit, but I didn't think it was going to be to the tune of nearly 500 yards rushing. So that's a really nice bonus for Bo Nix. Will he be able to keep it up? Who knows? But I think it's going to be irrelevant if he's able to take another step in the passing game. You're not going to have to rely on the 450 to 500 yards rushing. He's going to be able to get you there with his arm alone. So if he keeps going, he's going to be one of these guys that's pushing 4,500 yards passing pretty easily. So it's impressive, even for a guy that liked Bo Nix, how well he's done here in his rookie season.
Yeah, absolutely. The I Told You So award for me went to Terry McLaurin. On all the bye episodes, I was talking up Terry McLaurin, especially after they drafted Jaden Daniels, talking about his deep throwing. I said, this is the best quarterback Terry McLaurin has played with by far. There's nobody else on this team to throw to. He's going to be a wide receiver 1 this season. And sure enough, he ended up being wide receiver 7 overall on the year. Had a fantastic year. Now, he did have a terrible game in week 17 when I needed him most, so that kind of stuck. But other than that, he had a fantastic year, and we finally got to see him be that elite asset that his talent said he always had the shot to be. So the I Told You So award went to Terry McLaurin for me. Nice. Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
The FFPC playoff challenges are back for another season. Just pick 12 players, 1 from each playoff team, and ride them all the way to the big dance. It's that simple. Over $1.8 million is on the line between the 2 contests exclusively at FFPC.
All right, next award goes to the Pleasant Surprise Award. A player that outperformed your expectations. And this is where it's going to be a repeat guy for me, just like Garrett took my Terry McLaurin. And mine, I won't go too much into it because Garrett already talked about him, Sam Darnold. When I had 0 expectations at all, and you finished as 11th overall scorer total in PPR overall, what a dynamic year in resurgence for him. So just as much as he qualified for the comeback player of the award, that's where I had J.K. Dobbins, I easily found a place for Sam Darnold here as the most easily pleasant surprise for me.
Matt, before you go,
go.
I'll say for me, it was Bo Nix, who you just talked about. That was the pleasant surprise for me. He definitely outperformed my expectations. Through the first 4 weeks, I was like, he was going to be my I Told You So guy, because I was like, he sucks. He's no good. And then from week 5 on, he just had an incredible rookie season. Had a guy named Jaden Daniels not been in this class, we're probably looking at Bo Nix as the rookie of the year for the NFL. So fantastic year. Did not expect him to play as well as he did in this offense. So my pleasant surprise was Bo Nix.
All right. That's a pretty good one. I'm on board for that one. But my pleasant surprise was Jameson Williams, a guy that I think most people had kind of given up on through the first 2 seasons. He kind of couldn't get out of his own way. And even this season missed some games due to that suspension. Or was it? No. Yeah. Was it a 2-game suspension? Was that this year or last year? Or was that just an injury? He missed a couple of games for whatever reason. Because my brain's not working.
I think it was last year he got suspended.
For whatever reason, my brain's not working. But regardless, big play guy. He's going to have some ups and downs week to week. I don't think he's ever going to be on the Mr. Consistent award winner, but at least cracked 1,000 yards, 1,001 yards on 58 receptions, and he actually averaged the second highest amount for any wide receiver over over 30 receptions at 17.3. So his 58 receptions, he really did the most out of, maximized kind of all those targets and all those receptions. He's a big play guy, man. He's just got speed you can't teach, and this offense has really showcased him. So hopefully that's one of those things that sticks around even if Ben Johnson leaves. My pleasant surprise is Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I'm real interested because he's still young enough, like how his career's going to play
23.
Like,
yeah, he's super young.
With how much money they got to spend there, like I don't know if Detroit's going to be able to re-sign him. I wouldn't be surprised, like even like if he gets traded at some point, right? Because they don't like they pick up his 5th-year option, trade him.
They got to decide on that here soon if they're going to pick it up or not.
And maybe like Ben Johnson goes somewhere and that team makes a trade for a guy like Jameson Williams. You know what I mean? Like, so the sky could still be high for a guy like Jameson Williams. So I like that award. All right. Next award is going to be the Rookie Value Award. So like a rookie that obviously wasn't a first round pick that went way in your drafts that turned out to be really good value.
Nope. We probably all have the same guy, right?
Is it a running back?
Yep.
Did he play for the Buccaneers?
Yes, he does. Bucky Irving. I think he's the obvious choice for me. Yep. Is that who you had, Matt, or no?
So I had him, but I had a runner up because I wasn't super clear on. I didn't notice did you eliminate all first round guys and make them all late round guys?
Not necessarily, but
okay.
Yeah, I thought that one kind of spoke for itself.
Too.
Bucky Irving's my first guy, but Brian Thomas is my second guy, and it's only because you got ridiculous production out of it. He was wide receiver 4 on the year.
Pick.
Yeah.
And I just in my leagues alone, he was the 6th wide receiver, the 6th wide receiver, the 7th wide receiver, the 8th, 5th, 9th wide receiver taken, 6th wide receiver. 9th? So he 9th in one of the drafts. So just crazy value from where he was getting taken to where he actually finished in this year's standings.
Yeah, I mean it's value wise, because no matter where you took him, it was value. But you're right, like you're going in as like the 5th, 6th receiver, being a wide receiver 4, like a franchise cornerstone, 2nd round startup guy, great pick. Bucky Irvin, my pick this year. Obviously, this wasn't a dynamic running back class, so Bucky Irvin led all rookies in yards with 1,150. Led all rookie running backs in yards after contact with 855. Had the most touchdowns with 8. Had 60 missed tackles forced. So really came out here. Bucky Johnson showed me enough this year. He's my running back 6 overall.
Who is this Bucky? Who is this Bucky Johnson guy you're talking about? Bucky Irving?
Yeah. I don't even know who Bucky Johnson is. It is late. I'm starting to go delirious here. But yeah, I mean, this is somebody like we talked about this on the last show. Like when you look at these running back, the dynasty running back landscape, there's not many guys you want to like pin your hat on. Like this is like one of those last guys out there. Like he's under that tier of like, okay, who do you want? Jonathan Taylor? Or do you want Bucky Irvin? Right? Like, take the 22-year-old in Bucky Irvin. So he is skyrocketed up my dynasty ranking. So I thought he was tremendous value going into the late 2nd, 3rd round of some rookie drafts. All right. Next year, this is a tough one because this
wasn't for me.
Was so unbelievable in its rookie of the year. Now, this all depends to me. Is it super flex or is it just rookie of the year? Because if it's super flex, it's Jaden Daniels. It's QB5, 6 overall scorer, PPR. If it's not super flex, for me, it's Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is my rookie of the year.
I think you're 0 for 2 here, Rich.
Well, dude, you can say Brian Thomas Jr. You can say Brock Bowers. Like, there's a lot of different ways to go. No, I disagree.
Brock Bowers.
Listen, I had
come on, Mr. Tight End.
I have all these guys written down. I said this could have been Brian Thomas Jr. I said if it's super flex, it could be easily Jaden Daniels, who finishes QB5 at a 6 overall scorer. It could easily be Brock Bowers as well, being tight end 1. But then I was like, you know what? Like, from a points per game basis, like Brock Bowers and Trey McBride are pretty close, right? Like they're pretty close. Now, of course, Brock Bowers is clear tight end 1, but man, when you look at what Malik Nabers did on that team and how bad that team was, my God, did Malik Nabers look good. He averaged 18.3 points per game in PPR. That is good for 6 overall and finished as wide receiver 6. So even though Brian Thomas Jr. finished higher than him, Malik Nabers missed some games. On a points per game basis, Malik Nabers was giving you absolutely elite numbers. This is a no wrong answer for me. Like, you want to put your flag on Brock Bowers, so be it. If I want to, if this is super flex, I think it's Jaden Daniels. If you want to say Brian Thomas Jr., I understand it, but I think Malik Nabers is, I know kind of some of the shock because what everybody else did though, but I kept looking at the numbers, points per game, average, where they finished. And then I looked at like who they did it with. And to me, it came down to Malik Nabers. This was the hardest one to pick because there's so many deserving candidates. So for you to say like 0-2, like I strongly disagree because Malik Nabers was that good. And it's super flex tight good. And tight end premium,
number one
you kind of want Brock Bowers
at his position. Set the rookie record for most receptions as not even being a receiver. Like, I think this is absolutely Brock Bowers, slam dunk when you look at positional value. And I think that's the thing that surprises me that you didn't pick him because, like,
I have him written down, bro.
I know, but I'm shooketh. I'm shooketh with this response. Matt, what do you
know if it was tight end premium, though. Like, I don't know. Again, if it's super, like, but couldn't you argue, too, like, if we were just saying this is super flex, it'd be Jaden Daniels, hands down?
No. I would still take Brock Bowers over Jaden Daniels for Rookie of the Year.
But who would you take first in a super flex draft?
I chose Jaden Daniels, by the way.
Yeah, see?
Oh my gosh.
No, 100%.
Sorry, I was just being quiet over here, letting you guys argue.
Number one overall player at his position.
Jaden Daniels is 6th overall scorer in all of fantasy football. 6.
And listen, Jaden Daniels, he finished it. He finished as quarterback 5.
Tight end. I'm talking about 6 overall, not his position, overall.
He finished as quarterback 5 on the year, but he basically didn't play that last game. So if you eliminate that, he's up another spot. So he's really the 5th overall guy, Rich. So I don't know. I think Jaden Daniels is here to stay, and so is Brock Bowers. It's not a slight on Brock Bowers because I think he is a huge difference maker. Yeah, but I just think if you're handing out Rookie of the Year, it's usually going to go to a guy. I was thinking Superflex too, so my mind immediately went to quarterback.
Yeah, no, this was I assumed Superflex as well.
Okay, yeah, so Superflex, it's not Malik Nabers, it's easy Jaden Daniels. He skyrocketed my number 2 overall dynasty player, and I have hard time going, man, if I had the 1st overall pick, Josh Allen is definitely ranked number 1, but man, in those startups, do I like to just get really young players and like, God, I'd be really hard pressed just to say, you know what, I'm going to take Jaden Daniels. I know it's crazy to say, but it's like,
I'm shocked. I am not the tight end guy on the show. I thought this was going to be a clean sweep.
Well, maybe you've been slutting yourself out in prison too much.
All right, let's get to our last 2 awards.
All right, where our last 2 awards is the next one is LVP, the non-injury related dud, the guy who just sucked. And honestly, I'd be surprised if we don't all have the same guy here.
There were 2 guys I was close between. There were 2.
To me, this was the easiest decision I had to make out of all of them.
Outside of like
J.K. Dobbins.
Same time. Yep. 1, 2, 3.
Travis
Etienne.
Travis Etienne. Yes. 3 for 3.
Yes.
CJ Stroud was the only one that even crossed my mind other than Travis.
Oh, that's another good one too. You're right. CJ Stroud could easily finish mode, but
he could.
Man, coming off a running back, high-end running back 1 year, picked his 5th-year option picked up on a team you thought were going to do something, was never even a running back 1 once the whole year.
Dude, all right.
Not a single week.
Take this for you. Last year, he averaged 16. It was either 16.6 or 16.8. Let me look to make sure I get it correct. So last year, on a points per game basis, Travis Etienne averaged 16.6 points per game on the season.
Cut that in half.
Did not have a single game over 14 all year. Did not have one game over his average of last season.
And he only had 1 game of 14 points, and that was week 2 when he scored 14.8 points. Besides that was it. Everything else was 12 points or lower.
Yep. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
But CJ Stroud is a close runner-up. He had a pretty tough season as well. Just Etienne's was so ungodly bad that it saved CJ Stroud from being the LVP.
Well, we all picked him, so it made sense. All right. Our final award of the night it's always saved for last because
Absolutely.
it's the MVP. It's the MVP of the fantasy football season. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go, how you view it. MVP is very open-ended. You could easily say Brock Bowers could win. I mean, literally,
you're going to give Brock Bowers MVP, but not Rookie of the Year.
No, I'm saying you could go Brock Bowers.
Good. You
could go. You can go Jaden Daniels here if you would interrupt me. Does anybody want to go first, or should I just go?
It's Jamar Chase, dude. Come on, man.
It is Jamar Chase.
It's not even close. It's
not even close. It's Jamar Chase. He's almost 100 points higher than the next closest wide receiver at Justin Jefferson. He's got 403 points. Justin Jefferson 317. The last wide receiver one, which is Jerry Jeudy, he had 163 points more than him. 163 points.
I just wish he was as consistent as Anthony Richardson.
I wish he had more consistability. See, look, you're all welcome. I said I like Jamar Chase.
I was down on him.
I was like, until he showed me he could be a high-end wide receiver one and show me some consistability, then like that's what it is. I had to make up a word for him to break 400 points. But yeah, I mean, the guy broke 400 PPR points. No. He was 30 points behind Lamar Jackson. He was a number 2 overall scorer overall on the year. He scored more points than Josh Allen. And Josh Allen had a 51 point and a 41 point game, and he still scored 18 more points than Josh Allen. He scored almost 25 more points than his quarterback in Joe Burrow, the person throwing him the football. Saquon Barkley almost broke the rushing record. He scored almost 60 points more than Saquon Barkley. Easily Jamar Chase. That dude is about to get paid. Ooh. So kudos to him. Listen, I've been harder on Jamar Chase than anybody probably in the industry, because like this was, and it always came down to like, where he went, he wasn't producing where he deserved to go. And when you take a guy like Jamar Chase in a super flex draft at 6th, 7th overall, this is what you expect, right? Yeah. This is what you need. That Justin Jefferson numbers, right? So like kudos to him. He did it, rightfully so. He's my wide receiver 2 overall in Dynasty. Down to him, Justin Jefferson. And now he's made the case to flip that if you want to. If you took Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson, I have no argument whatsoever, because he's about to be tied to Joey Burrow, and Joey Burrow is also super duper elite. So kudos to Jamar Chase.
By the way, 0.2 points less than what CeeDee Lamb ended up scoring last year. So very, very high end back-to-back finishes by a couple of wide receivers, man.
Yeah, love to see it, man. And this is so these cornerstone players in your first round pick, they're so important, because these are the guys that carry you along the way. It shows you the importance of guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Like, and the value of some of these guys, even older guys like Derrick Henry that came out and his producer, another guy that kind of gave a hard time to for his first couple of years of his career. So shout out to Jamar Chase. Shout out to the whole 2024 fantasy football season. It was a great year. Very interesting. We saw the whole dynamic of our rank set change drastically. We saw, you said, we mentioned comebacks here. Guys like J.K. Dobbins, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, reemerging as high-end fantasy football assets, or entering that playing field. We saw a ginormous amount of rookies in this 24 class, arguably the greatest rookie class I've ever seen, ever. Certainly to start off a year, and more to come, because we still haven't seen some guys even get opportunities, right? Like there's some running backs still, like a guy like Trey Benson, a guy like Jonathan Brooks, a guy like
Marshawn Lloyd hasn't even touched the field.
Haven't even touched the field. Some receivers that can still just scratch in the surface. Guys like Xavier Worthy, for example, that kind of looked really good at the end of the year last year.
Maybe even Marvin Harrison Jr. We could see a lot more from him.
And dude, talk about like the number one asset coming into this, like was one of the biggest duds, right? Like not a dud where like he's bad,
right?
We're like, dude, this guy come in and be like a high end wide receiver 1 out the gates, and we saw Brian
100
Thomas
yards
Jr.
and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, we saw Ladd McConkey and Malik Nabers. All those guys outperform him at that position. And there's a receiver. What rookie receiver am I not thinking of here?
Rome Odunze
as another one that kind of like look good, but didn't have the opportunity, right? So like just 1 and 3 guys out there like are being outshined by all these other guys. So we still have a lot of guys to still scratch the surface. We have another really strong rookie class coming here of running backs to kind of help overall change that landscape. So that's Dynasty Fantasy Football, right? Things look a lot different than they do in a calendar year. So here we are in January, first episodes of the year. This time next year, the landscape's going to look drastically different again. It's an ever-flowing game. It's why we like it so much. It just changes so much. And the more you stay on top of it, and the more work you do, the better chance you will have to be at this time a 2-week away champion. And that's what we're all aiming for. So we have a long way to go. We have some more shows coming up here for you in the month of January. As we inch our way closer to the rookie breakdowns, we still got free agency. We still got the Super Bowl. We got a lot of fun stuff coming, some games, some good talking points. Garrett's got all our shows planned out up until the NFL draft, which ends in April. So I'm really excited to kick off the 2025 season, our 11th year of doing the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, going into the 6th year for you, Garrett, right?
Yep. You're
so the 6th year for Garrett, 11 years for Matt and I talk on these mics. Thanks for everybody who's been sticking with us along the way. If you're a new listener, welcome. It's going to be a fun year. And one thing we're going to promise you is we're going to put into work and do our best to put you in the best position to have a really good 2025 Dynasty Fantasy Football season. We got a long way to go before we get to September, but it's going to come here quick because that's how life works, right? You blink and it goes by. You know, is anybody who just said, wow, man, 2024, it went by in a blink of an eye. Here we are at the very onset of 2025. Don't blink for too long because you're going to wake up. It's going to be kickoff of the season. Who's going to be kicking off on that Thursday night? I don't know. Anybody have a bold before the playoffs start? Anybody have a Super Bowl prediction before we get out of here?
Bills, Lions win it all.
Man.
Lions, Chargers, Lions win it all.
Okay. I don't have one. I hate bold predictions.
Sure do. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds has an incredible new offer from Underdog Fantasy for new customers. When you sign up as a new customer, you'll get a chance at their new customer free pick. But that's not all. Underdog is also offering incredible deposit bonuses. Use the promo code NERDS when you first sign up, and Underdog will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. That's right, $1,000 to kickstart your fantasy football journey. Don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Sign up today with promo code NERDS and start your journey to fantasy football glory today. Must be 18, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. And in Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.